Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Morning Five on Wednesday, November 5th, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Bax, both Urban Meyer and Tom Herman have said this week over and over again that Michigan State is so good defensively because they do the same thing consistently. They don't change what they do, and they do it extremely well. The Buckeyes don't expect there will be many tricks up the Spartan sleeve. However, I'm concerned Michigan State might have more than just a few wrinkles that the Buckeyes are not expecting. They've had 2 weeks to prepare, and Mark D'Antonio and Pat Narduzzi are two of the brightest defensive minds in the country. Likewise, Urban Meyer is one of the country's greatest offensive minds. We're all hoping Tom Herman will be thought of in the same light one day. Bax, this one might come down to who makes the best in-game adjustments, and that's a big concern of mine.
Yeah, you ain't kidding, especially when we haven't seen a lot of in-game adjustments on offense in the Tom Herman era that have worked out well for the Buckeyes. That said, this is a Michigan State defense that, while very good, statistically pretty much is a mirror image of Ohio State's defense. They're not the off-the-charts, top-notch, one of the best defenses I've seen in the Big Ten in the last 20 years type of defenses like we saw last year. And they're susceptible to big plays. So I think one thing Michigan State's going to probably be very cautious with on this game on Saturday night is that they don't want to give up one of those big bust kind of plays that happened 2 years ago in East Lansing, if you remember. Devin Smith caught like a 60-yard touchdown pass that was the decisive margin in the game. And Michigan State's they've been getting caught this year on a lot of longer plays. So, yeah, they're going to have some tricks up their sleeve, and I am sure they're going to bring all kinds of blitzes at J.T. Barrett, trying to replicate what Virginia Tech did and to a certain extent what Penn State did. But in the end, this is as high intelligence-wise, this is as high turbo of a matchup as you're going to get between an offense and a defense. Because Narduzzi, let's face it, Narduzzi should be a head coach somewhere, and it's just a matter of time until that happens. Because their defenses have been so good for almost a decade now running since D'Antonio got up there.
Yeah, last year I said this will definitely be his last year at Michigan State, and I was 100% positive about that. I thought some big school would snatch him up. Now, he was offered the job at Connecticut, but that was the best offer that he got at UConn, so he decided to stay at Michigan State, which I think was a wise move to wait until he got a better job offer, which probably will be coming after this year. I'll back off the 100%, but I definitely think Pat Narduzzi, I agree with you, will be a head coach very soon. Moving on, a lot of fans have wondered about Armani Reeves, the junior defensive back, did not play against Illinois last week. Luke Fickell and Urban Meyer both have been extremely coy about Reeves' status when we've asked them this week. Again, Reeves did not play against Illinois. The coaches say they're not sure if he'll play against Michigan State this week. Bax, there's obviously something going on with Reeves that they want to keep in-house. And honestly, I don't have a problem with that. I know as a media guy, I'm supposed to get all angry about the coaches not giving us the full story and misleading us. You should have heard some of the comments from other reporters. I can't believe they're not telling us the truth here. This happens all the time. This happens more than anyone probably thinks, and I don't have a problem with it. They don't want to air their dirty laundry. Whatever's going on with Armani, they want to keep in-house. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you that there's no reason for this to be brought up because, like, let's say Armani Reeves did something that he shouldn't have done off the field. And that's going to be a distraction to the team. They're going to have to answer all kinds of questions about it. And I'm very suspicious that it's not just Armani Reeves. We didn't see any of Corey Smith last week, for example. And I find it highly coincidental that Rod Smith is suddenly gone off the team and two guys are disappeared from the team for a little while. Then there was the whole Ezekiel Elliott didn't get the starting snaps thing, which I know we disagree on, but it's still very strange the way he came in and they were supposed to protect his reps, but he didn't start but then played a ton. Something happened to a bunch of these guys, I think, off the field. And Urban's just not in a situation right now where he wants to deal with it publicly. And it's probably something relatively minor, but something happened with a group of these guys, and some of these guys are being punished for it, and they're just trying to. Urban being coy about it wasn't even being very coy because he was like, well, I don't know if he's cleared yet or not. I don't really get into those things. What was the concussion we're talking about here? No, it's not an injury. I don't get into these things. And then Fickle's like, well, I don't know. I found out last probably. Yeah, right. The guy who helped set the depth chart doesn't know he's there? Right. Something happened. And the Buckeyes, they don't really care to air any dirty laundry about guys that are not your frontline star players the week of the Michigan State game, which is the biggest week of the year.
On the recruiting front, 3-star cornerback Joshua Norwood from Valdosta, Georgia, committed to Ohio State last night. That gives the Buckeyes 20 verbal commitments in their 2015 recruiting class. They have the 8th best class in the nation according to 24/7 Sports Composite, and they are knocking at the door to South Carolina to be the 7th best class in the nation. The 5'10", 175-pound Norwood originally committed to Cincinnati, but Bax, he is having a tremendous senior season. He flipped to the Buckeyes. He sounds very underrated to me. I think this is a really good get for the Buckeyes. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a guy that, what was his name? Brad Roby out of Georgia. You remember that guy? He was committed to a lower-level school in Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
yeah,
I've heard of him.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden his senior year, he had a really great year, and he's like, I don't have to go to Vanderbilt. And, much like Roby, Norwood got a bunch of offers from bigger schools, and Ohio State pounced on him and managed to convince him to come up. And I'll say this, Norwood has a lot to live up because the last 3 Buckeyes we got out of the Peach State, not including Stephen Collier, of course, who hasn't had a chance to even see the field yet. The last 3 Buckeyes we had coming out of the state were Von Bell, Brad Roby, and Cameron Hayward. So that's pretty lofty expectations to live up to. But, Urban Meyer, his alma mater must be cursing him right now. I mean, we beat Cincinnati in football, and now we're stealing their recruits.
Great stuff out of the People's Champ. A few things I want to pass along to the listeners. Ohio State moved up 2 spots in the college football playoff rankings. They are now 14th. Michigan State holding steady at 8th. Nebraska is 13th. The Buckeyes are still 3 or 3.5 point underdogs to Michigan State, depending on what sports book you look at. So 3 or 3.5 points. It's holding steady there. We're going to interview Urban Meyer tonight after practice. We're also going to get a handful of players, so look for coverage of what Coach Meyer has to say and what the players have to say this evening. Thanks again to the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Thanks to all the listeners out there. Take it away, best damn band in the land.